Hey there everyone. So for today's makeup look, I'm going to be doing a look that is really all about the skin. So I'm going to be doing some really nice highlighting and contouring. And then we're going to do a little bit of a black winged eyeliner using a liquid liner pen. So the eyes really are the feature along with the skin, but we're using, I'm going to use a really kind of neutral color palette, not a lot of strong colors, sort of browns, bronzes, golds, and just really let that wing eyeliner take center stage. So let's get going here. So I don't have any makeup on yet. I'm going to start with some foundation, and I like to sometimes blend shades because I've got access to all the shades under the sun. And so I'm blending a little bit of C2 and N2 because I've got quite kind of neutral skin. It's not super warm, it's not super cool. So I find the ideal is to blend a slightly warmer and a slightly cooler foundation shade to get that perfect color. So I'm just gonna blend that in, just work nice and quickly here. Using a foundation brush, of course. Does a nice job of getting everything blended, keeps it nice and light. And easy to get in around all the little corners of the face. And then anywhere where you think you need a little extra, just get in there. And I'm gonna run this under my eye as my concealer. I find usually, for a lot of us, for myself certainly, that foundation on its own usually acts as a good concealer around the eye. And then it doesn't get heavy because sometimes, if you try to layer concealer and a foundation together around the eye area, it can start to get pretty cakey. And, especially as we start to get those little, fine lines and wrinkles around the eye, we want to try to keep the product pretty light in that area. All right, that's looking good. And I always like to try to work pretty fast when I'm doing my makeup. And then it's not such a big deal to do it, right? If it only takes, kind of 5 or 10 minutes to do a fairly full face of makeup, there's kind of no excuse not to, right? All right, and just running a little bit over the eyelids as well to help prep them for some eyeshadow. All right, there we go. Looks good. Very nice. Okay. And next I'm going to do eyebrows. I'm always kind of experimenting with eyebrows, trying to find, I don't know, not like the perfect eyebrow solution. I think sometimes it's as much as, I don't know, kind of curiosity or boredom. I try different brow products all the time. I kind of have my staples that I always go back to, but something that I've really been having fun working with lately is like it's kind of like a tinted brow pomade, like a tinted brow wax. And I've really been liking that because I find it gives me the effect that's very similar to having used pencil and powder together in one product. So I don't know, it's kind of fun. It's what I've been digging for brows for the last kind of couple months. I've been using it. And so I'm going to put that on with a little stiff angled brow brush, and that's what the product looks like here. And this is in shade Fawn. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that. And I like a fairly bold brow. I don't go overboard with it, but a nice defined brow, especially when I'm keeping the rest of the makeup pretty light. Helps to really frame my features. And other eyebrow here. Just nice and quick. I find it does a good job. I actually really quite like this product. I think I might think about adding it to my lineup of color cosmetics that I carry. I think it's a good one. So it's just quick. And it does a nice job of sort of building up the appearance of the hairs. Like it makes the brow look a bit fuller because the wax kind of adheres to the hairs. And then I'm just going to give that a comb through one last time just to make sure it's well blended. Doesn't look kind of streaky. All right, next I'm gonna do some contouring. So I like to use powder contour. I find it is the easiest to work with. And to get it on with, I like this little buffer brush of mine. It's just a nice little stubby guy, really easy to work with. And then just a really simple contour powder. This is in shade number 5. I find it's a good shade for most lighter to medium skin tones. And then a little trick with this, guys, I like to just sort of pinch the brush. Sorry, I shouldn't cover my mouth there. Pinch the brush to get a little bit more of like a defined ridge on the center of the buffing brush. And then I'm gonna go in along under the jawline, or sorry, not the jawline, where the jaw hinges is a good sort of point of where to start your contour, just right under that cheekbone. And then I'm keeping this pretty soft. I'm not gonna do a really strong contour. So that's probably enough. And I'm just gonna blend that out. So there's not an obvious band of color, but again, you can see what a difference that makes, right? It just adds a little shape to the cheek. Same thing on the other side here. Give that a good blend. Whew. Little fly there. I can tell it's the summertime when the flies are around. All right. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take a little bit as well under the jawline, just to help really crisp up that jaw and help it to pop. Make sure again it's well blended. Don't want to have any obvious product showing on the skin at all. Okay. Nice and simple. All right, now for a little color on the cheeks, I'm gonna go back in with my foundation brush and I'm gonna use a cream blush. Anyone who knows me knows I love my cream blush. So this is shade Palm Beach, which is one of my absolute favorites. It's just a really nice, soft, kind of peachy neutral. It's a really nice one. And I'm gonna put that more kind of on the front of the cheek there and then just blend that back for just a little flush of healthy color on the cheek. Okay, that's looking good. A little bit more here. Blending, blending, always blending. I love using a foundation brush for my cream blush. It makes blending out so much easier. I always used to use my fingers. For the longest time, I always used fingers. And you know, the idea being that the heat from the fingers does a nice job of melting the product and blending into the skin. And then one day I was like, I'm gonna try using a foundation brush, and I haven't gone back since. I find it just does such a way better job of really diffusing the product, especially if you're someone who has a hard time blending, like you're a bit newer to makeup or you just find your blending skills don't come quite as naturally to you. A foundation brush really does make a world of difference when it comes to blending out products like this. And now for some highlight. Love my highlighter. I'm gonna keep using the same brush. So the highlighter I'm using here is a cream highlight, and apparently I need to clean my clean my product. It's looking like the mirror got a little messy there. So it's a cream highlight, similar to a liquid highlighter, very soft, very subtle. And I'm gonna grab my foundation brush and I'm gonna go in again, just along the top of the cheekbone here now with that. So you can see where I'm placing that. Hopefully the light's kind of catching that for you. And I'm gonna blend that in. And with the cream highlight or a liquid highlight, I'm not scared to get it in right close to the eye area. I actually kind of like the look of that highlighter sitting up here. But if you're using a powder highlight, watch that you don't get too close to the eye, because usually there's a few too many wrinkles around the eye area that don't look great, really accentuated with the powder highlight. But with the creams or the liquids, they tend to be subtle enough that you can get away with it. Okay. Looking good. We're going in the right direction here. I'm gonna do my upper lip too while I'm at it. So just kind of hitting that Cupid's bow with a little pop of concealer. And then the last place that I like to put a little bit of highlighter is just on the inside corner of the eye, sort of where the eye meets the nose, just on the inner corner there. And I like to use my cream brush for that. I find it's basically like a mini foundation brush. It's the right size to get into those smaller areas. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit more of that highlight and just pop that right into the inner corner of the eye. Just watch again that it doesn't get too low here under the tear duct area, because it can look, to me, I always say it looks like, you know, you've been crying, or it looks kind of sweaty, I find, when makeup gets down too low there. So that's always an area to watch out for when you're doing your inner eye highlighting, that you don't kind of let that color fall down too low. All right, good, we're humming along here. Okay, next let's do some quick eyeshadows. So I'm going to use my Beach Goddess palette, which is just really nice, kind of like I said, those sort of bronzy, gold, coppery tones. So I'm going to be using this guy here. This is called Way Cool. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit of this shade here. This is shade Cactus. And to get this on, I'm going to use my new eye shader brush, which I'm so excited about. These just came in this last weekend. I've been waiting for these. Honestly, I ordered these, started ordering them in the new year, like back in January, February. I think with COVID and everything, you know, everyone's struggling to keep up with their supplier commitments and everything. And just the whole supply chain has really slowed down, obviously. So I'm so excited to finally have these. And I love using this brush. I've had my like demo versions that I've been using in my own kit for quite a while, but it's so exciting. Like I taught some lessons over the weekend and I was able to use these brushes with my clients, and it was just, I was like so happy to have them to finally be using. Anyway, so I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that gold on my brush there, and I'm just gonna pop that onto the lid. Just simple, you know, nothing fancy. You'll notice I'm patting that color on, not blending. Okay, well, it's a bit of blending, but it's mostly a patting motion, and that helps to stop the little bits of shimmers from sort of flicking and falling. So I see some people try to kind of flick their eyeshadows on. That's a surefire way to make a bit of a mess of your the rest of your makeup, because we want to minimize how much shimmer is potentially falling out onto like the top of your cheeks and stuff. Because I always like to do my foundation first, and that's why some makeup artists will say, you know, do the eyes first and then go in and clean it up and do all your foundation after. And I've never liked doing that. I like to see my skin all evened out and quite neutral before I go in and do my makeup. But it does mean that you need to be quite kind of clean when you're doing your makeup and try to minimize how much powders are falling down. It still happens sometimes, but you know, if you're careful, you can minimize it. All right, and now I'm gonna jump over and use my eye blender brush. So this guy's a little tapered crease brush, and now I'm gonna go into that cactus shade there and just pick up a little bit of that right on the tip of the brush. And I'm gonna park that in the crease and just go back and forth, that windshield washer motion, and blend that through the crease. Try to relax my forehead, those forehead wrinkles. I don't know if doing makeup for a living is good for the forehead. It's a lot of forehead raising. Relaxed forehead. All right, here we go. Blending, blend, blend, blend. And so you can see a little shape starting to come out there. Same thing on the other eye. Blend that through this crease. Trying to keep this pretty light. I don't want the eyes to be super dark. Going for a bit of a lighter, softer look. All right, now I'm gonna jump back over to that shader brush. One of the things I love about this brush that makes it a bit unique, you can see it's got an angle on it, right? See how the bristles are angled? Which I love, what it's so good for. So you can use it as your basic shader brush on the lid, like it's dense enough and stiff enough that you can get some color on there. And then with that same brush, I'm gonna go back into Cactus, the color I used on the crease, and I'm gonna run that under the eye using that angle. And it does such a nice job of laying color down under the eye. It just does all the work for you, which I love. When you get the right brush and you understand kind of how to hold them, they do so much of the kind of color placement for you, which I think is brilliant. I'm all about trying to make it easy, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna blend that out a titch more. So I want that color quite soft, diffused. Alrighty, okay, now what are we doing here? I'm gonna pick up a little bit of this guy here. This one's called Turkish. It's kind of a rusty metallic reddy brown. Love this color. All right, so I'm just gonna, now I'm going back with that kind of bigger fluffy crease brush, and I'm gonna just run that around the whole outer perimeter of that eye. And that's gonna give me that little bit kind of really blown out, soft, really well blended look. It's a little more dramatic, but you know, I'm using a light hand and lots of blending. And it's very intentional. I'm only putting that on the outer kind of third of the eye. All right, good, good. Okay, next, jump in with a little bit of brown eye pencil. Very optional, you know, like you certainly don't have to go in and use an eye pencil if you don't want to, but I'm gonna go for a little extra wow factor here and put a little bit of this in the waterline of the eye. Okay, and then on the top here. And then we're going to get into the liquid eyeliner, the intended star of the show here. So I really like these liquid eyeliner pens. I think they're pretty darn cool. They come with like a long tapered felt tip to them. In my opinion, this is the easiest way to get liquid eyeliner on. I find most other styles of liquid eyeliner pretty darn hard to work with. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Liquid eyeliner takes good steady hand. If you lack a steady hand and you find you're really shaky, or you know, if vision is a problem, any of those things, liquid eyeliner just simply might not be the option for you, and that's okay. It's certainly not necessary. I go a long time without using liquid eyeliner and don't feel like I'm missing it at all, but sometimes it's fun to pull it out and play with it. When you do want that slightly more dramatic winged effect, I find liquid liner really is the best way to achieve that. So I'm starting by just doing a nice thin line along the eye, and then I'm gonna draw. Okay, so here's how to do a wing. Pay attention. So I've started out with a nice thin line right along the lash line. And then where the eyelashes stop, so not necessarily at the corner of the eye, but where my eyelashes stop, I'm gonna do a straight line that goes up towards, typically towards where your eyebrow would meet, like if they were to intersect. Trying to get that angle straight is tricky. Everyone's eyes are a little different. The mistakes I see people make, some people try to go too straight out. Typically, unless you're intentionally going for sort of that like Cleopatra really dramatic look, which most of us aren't, you're not going to want to go straight out. It's more of an upward angle. And honestly, it's practice. Like the only way you're going to get good at it is by doing it over and over and over again. The first dozen or 2 dozen times, it might be atrocious. You might feel like you have no idea what you're doing, and that's okay. It just takes a lot of practice to get the hang of liquid eyeliner or just wings in general. And even then sometimes, like I'll still goof up sometimes, and you know, if I'm busy, distracted, say my kids come in and they distract me, or whatever, like things happen. Wings are a little fiddly, so just make sure you give yourself a little bit of time to do them. So I've done that line, and now I'm gonna come back. So I'm not gonna go right to the tip of that wing. I'm gonna drop it down a little bit, and I'm gonna come straight back across to join my eyeliner, and you'll see I've left like a little empty triangle there, and then I'm just gonna fill that in. And I find it's usually best to start with a relatively small wing, because then you can always build it up and add more as wanted. All right, so now here's the trick. Can we get the other side to look the same, right? And so I'm just kind of using the edge of that pen, and I'm using tiny little short strokes, trying to keep it fairly fluid, but certainly not trying to draw this all in one motion. Okay, and now other side. All right, let's see what we can do here. Trying to keep the angle, so kind of referencing the angle I've done on that side. Let's see if I can get these looking somewhat similar. Yeah, looks pretty good. And then I'm gonna draw in that little empty triangle. And there we go. Okay, so there you see it. And then we're gonna fill that in. It might be a little lumpy bumpy, and that's okay. That's where you go back in and you just kind of smooth out your line as best as possible, which is challenging while talking. This is the ultimate test of multitasking here, my friends. Okay, and I'm just doing my best to smooth that out. But one trick, or not trick, but tick, trick, not tick. Leave that final little tip of the wing as fine as you can. That's what helps to give it a really nice kind of sophisticated fade away effect. That would be another mistake I see a lot of people making, is they try to build their wing off the very tip of the wing, and that it ends up looking too thick and kind of clumsy. So try to let that tail of the wing just sort of wisp away to nothing. All right, I think that's good. So know when to stop, know when to put the pen down. Because sometimes when we think, oh, that looks good, I'm just gonna keep going, that's when mistakes happen. All right, bit of mascara here, and I'm not gonna do any liquid on the bottom. I find liquid on the bottom, unless I'm doing like a really dark, smoky look, it's a little too heavy. Some mascara, get that on. Certainly emphasizing the outer corner of the eye to really play up that wing effect. And a little bit on the bottom while we're on this eye. Jump over to the other side here. Okay. Looks good. And of course, a little mascara under the eye. I usually try to jump in and just catch them right away when they're tiny. If they're really big, you can let mascara blobs dry and then just go in with a little Q-tip and kind of wipe them up. But usually I sort of panic when I see mascara on my makeup, and I just sort of get in and try to rub it all off as fast as I can. Okay, so that's the eyes and the cheeks, and then just a little bit of lips, and we're all done. Lip balm for sure, always lip balm. Even if I'm not gonna wear lipstick, I will always put some lip balm on. If I've got any kind of makeup on, to leave the lips dry and unfinished looks unfinished, and I find it frankly kind of uncomfortable. So these are my new lip balms, which I love. This is the mint one. They feel so good. I put these on like 1,000 times a day. And then for lipstick, I mean, you could go a million different directions with this look. I'm gonna go with something nice and simple. This is Black Honey, which is one of my favorites. Just like a nice sheer, kind of plummy shade, quite close to a natural lip color. A little bit darker just for a little drama, but nothing too crazy. All right, there you have it. So good luck with your wings, and until next time, bye everyone.